All right. So, you've mentioned wanting to really get a grasp on like the practical stuff that actually helps people get ahead.
Yeah.
Whether that's like, prepping for some big meeting or just getting up to speed in a new area, or even just, for the fun of it, like figuring out what really makes people successful.
Right.
And I think Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling is just like jam-packed with immediately useful stuff.
Totally agree.
So we are diving straight into that.
Excellent.
And, for this deep dive,
Yeah.
we don't just want to like run through, a bunch of sales tactics or whatever.
Right.
We want to try and like pull out the fundamental things that Tracy learned over his career that you can use right now.
Absolutely.
To kind of understand achievement in all parts of life, not just selling professional, personal, the whole thing.
Absolutely.
So think of it as like unlocking some really powerful and maybe even unexpected
For sure.
ways of looking at things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Tracy's story is pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
He didn't finish high school.
Yeah.
Spent years like doing really tough manual labor, traveled the globe doing all sorts of jobs.
Right.
Not exactly like the typical background
Right.
for like a top sales and business guru.
No, you wouldn't think.
Right.
But what's interesting is how he kind of stumbled into sales almost out of necessity.
Yeah.
He describes it as a moment where other doors were closing.
Yeah.
And so it really just highlights how sometimes our biggest opportunities can actually come from situations we hadn't even planned for at all.
Yeah, it's so true. And it wasn't easy for him at first, right?
No, it wasn't.
I mean, for the first 6 months, he was really struggling in sales, like just barely scraping by.
Yeah, definitely.
But then there was a real turning point.
Yes, there was a huge turning point.
Right, where he basically went straight to the best salesperson in the company and was just like, hey,
What's the secret?
what's your secret?
Yeah.
No ego, just a desire to learn.
Yeah, which is such a key lesson there. Instead of just kind of, grinding away hoping for the best, he proactively went and sought out someone who was already achieving results.
Right.
And that willingness to learn from others who are already doing what you want to do is huge. And that's something you can apply in any field.
Absolutely.
Sales, sports, anything.
Yeah. So what was the secret?
Well, the big discovery was that this top performer had actually gone through like a ton of professional sales training.
Oh, wow.
Like full on 16 months
Oh, wow.
with a Fortune 500 company.
So they really invested in him.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And so that really changed Tracy's whole perspective on the profession.
Yeah.
It kind of gets at that idea that success leaves clues.
Yeah.
Right? Like this guy wasn't just lucky. He had specific learned skills
Right.
that were giving him a real advantage,
Total.
often allowing him to actually achieve more
Right.
by working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
So Tracy realized that succeeding in sales wasn't just about being like outgoing or pushy.
Yeah.
It was a profession that could be studied and mastered.
Like a craft.
Like anything else.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what did he do?
So he immediately started changing his approach.
Okay.
Instead of just like talking at potential customers about the product,
Yeah.
he started asking them questions, really focusing on their needs.
Oh, okay.
And the impact was almost instantaneous. His sales took off.
Wow.
Yeah. So that fundamental shift from pushing a product to truly understanding the other person's situation
Okay.
and offering a solution tailored to them is huge.
Yeah.
It's about providing value, not just features.
Yeah.
And this opened up a whole new perspective on learning for him.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So what did he do?
He just threw himself into books on selling.
Okay.
He listened to audio programs, went to seminars like crazy.
Really went for it.
Oh, yeah. He was absorbing knowledge like a sponge.
Wow.
He actually made a point of like dedicating the first couple hours of every single day to studying.
That is some serious dedication to
Precisely.
self-improvement. It is. And it really reinforces that point that success isn't random, it's predictable
Yeah.
by consistently doing what successful people do.
Okay.
In this case, that commitment to ongoing learning and development,
Yeah.
you significantly increase your chances of getting similar results.
Makes sense.
Tracy says everyone in the top 10% started somewhere in the bottom 10%.
I like that.
Yeah.
So Tracy learns the power of learning,
Yeah.
but the book also like really emphasizes the crucial role of sales
Right.
and salespeople in the wider economy.
Yeah.
And it's not just about earning a commission.
It's so much more than that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
Tracy makes this really compelling argument that businesses are the fundamental wealth creators in our society.
Okay.
They develop all the products and services we use. They generate profits. They provide jobs.
Yeah.
And salespeople are absolutely critical to keeping that whole engine running.
Right.
You know, without sales, even the most innovative companies would eventually have to shut their doors.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and he makes a really strong point about the broader impact, too.
Okay.
So salespeople, through their efforts and the success of their companies,
Yeah.
they actually contribute to funding all sorts of essential services.
Like what?
Like schools, hospitals, charities, even government programs through taxes.
So it's a much bigger ripple effect
Way bigger than just that individual sale.
than people realize.
Totally.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is how this whole perception of sales has changed over time.
Yeah. How's it?
So
Yeah.
for a long time, it was seen as like a less prestigious profession,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, like kind of sleazy or something.
A little bit, yeah. But Tracy highlights how today leading companies fully recognize that they need to have highly skilled salespeople to really thrive.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Like the businesses that truly excel
Yeah.
are at their core excellent selling organizations.
Okay.
And it's not just about the companies.
Right.
It's also about the individual salespeople. Because Tracy really emphasizes that there's the potential for significant income and real job security in sales.
Yeah.
No matter what the economic climate is,
Yeah.
like skilled salespeople are always going to be in demand.
That makes sense.
And for anyone thinking about starting their own business,
Yeah.
that ability to sell is arguably the single most important skill they can develop.
Okay. Why is that?
You can always hire people with other expertise.
Yeah.
You know, you can get marketers, you can get finance people, but that core ability to persuade customers to buy is the fundamental driver of whether your business succeeds or fails.
Right. You've got to make money. Got
Exactly.
to bring in the revenue.
Yep.
Okay. So we've talked about the power of learning and
Yeah.
like the importance of sales,
Yes.
but the psychology of selling also really digs into the mental aspects of success.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like he mentions this Harvard study that found that the main qualities for succeeding in sales are actually mostly mental.
They're in your head.
Yeah. So what does that actually mean?
Well, this is where it gets really crucial. You know, your mindset is truly the foundation of your success.
Okay.
And Tracy talks about this idea of an income thermostat,
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
this internal governor that often limits how much we believe we're capable of earning.
Right. Like we subconsciously sabotage ourselves.
Exactly. And he tells this great story about a satellite dish salesman.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
It really sticks with you.
Yeah.
It does. So this guy comes from a background of poverty,
Okay.
and he starts making a ton of money selling satellite dishes to farmers.
Right.
But he's so uncomfortable with this new level of income
Yeah.
that he literally goes home and sits in the dark after making a couple of sales.
Like you can't even handle
He
it.
can't even enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great example of how your self-concept can actually hold you back without you even realizing it.
Yeah. Wow.
And Tracy emphasizes that this self-concept is mostly subjective.
What do you mean?
It's not based on some objective reality. It's based on your own thoughts and beliefs about yourself,
Oh.
particularly those limiting beliefs that we often carry around unconsciously.
Right. Like these invisible scripts we're running.
Exactly. And that fear and self-doubt, those can become the biggest obstacles to reaching your full potential.
Yeah. I can definitely see that.
You know, William James famously said, belief creates the actual fact.
That's good.
Right.
So how do we get these limiting beliefs in the first place?
Well, Tracy points out that they often develop pretty easily,
Okay.
frequently, stemming from early experiences.
Like childhood stuff.
Yeah, it could be that, you try something, you don't do it perfectly the first time, and then you internalize this belief that you're just not good at that kind of thing.
Oh, so we generalize from like one specific experience.
Exactly. And then without even realizing it, you start looking for evidence to confirm that negative belief.
So it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
100%. Yeah.
Wow.
And Louise Hay, she offers a really powerful perspective on this.
Okay, what did she say?
She suggests that at the core for many people is this fundamental feeling of, I'm not good enough.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
It's really common.
Like you feel like the other people who are more successful
Right.
are just like inherently better or more capable.
Yeah, and Tracy argues that that inaccurate conclusion
Yeah.
is a primary source of unhappiness.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And this feeling of not being good enough,
Yeah.
it actually directly impacts your ability to connect with others,
Oh, okay.
including potential customers.
In what way?
Well, Tracy highlights that the more you genuinely like and accept yourself,
Okay.
the better you'll be at every stage of the sales process.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, low self-esteem can create a real barrier to building rapport and trust
Yeah, that makes sense.
because people can kind of sense that.
Yeah.
They pick up on that energy.
Right.
So it's really about working on that inner foundation.
Yeah. So how do we start to overcome those limitations?
Well, Tracy talks about what he calls the great discovery. And that is that you become what you think about most of the time.
Right.
Positive thoughts tend to lead to positive outcomes.
Makes sense.
And thoughts of success tend to pave the way for actual success.
Yeah, so it's about more than just like our general thoughts, right? It's
Nope.
about that constant inner dialogue.
Yes, that self-talk that we all have going on in our heads.
So how do we manage that?
Well, successful people consciously manage their self-talk.
Okay.
They speak to themselves in a positive, encouraging, and confident way.
So it's about being your own best friend.
Yeah, exactly. And Tracy strongly recommends using affirmations.
Okay.
Specifically, he highlights the simple affirmation, I like myself.
Okay, but does just saying that actually do anything?
He says that consistently repeating that phrase, I like myself, can actually trigger a positive chemical response in your brain,
Oh, wow.
releasing endorphins,
Yeah.
boosting your overall sense of confidence and well-being.
So there's like a physiological effect.
Exactly.
Wow.
He even suggests saying it multiple times throughout the day. Yeah, especially right before important interactions or presentations.
So like you're priming yourself.
Yeah, you're essentially becoming your own biggest supporter.
That's cool.
So it's not just some abstract concept.
Right.
It has a real tangible effect.
Oh, okay.
Tracy even notes that the best time to make another sale is often right after you've successfully closed one,
Why is that?
because your self-esteem and confidence are naturally elevated.
So you're riding a wave,
Exactly.
a positive momentum.
Yeah. And he emphasizes that consciously engaging in positive self-talk right before meeting with a prospect
Okay.
can really prepare you mentally for a positive interaction.
Right, like setting the stage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that in turn often leads to better performance and more favorable results.
So let's shift gears a bit and talk about goal setting,
Go ahead.
which is something Tracy's very big on.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially in terms of achieving success in sales.
Mhm.
He says that top salespeople are intensely focused on their goals. They have a very clear understanding of their income targets, and they meticulously track the specific activities required to reach those targets.
Totally. It's not just about wishing for success.
Right.
It's about having a concrete plan.
So it's about having that bigger vision, but then breaking it down
Exactly.
to manageable steps.
That's right. And Tracy actually underscores the necessity of deciding exactly how much you intend to earn in a year.
Okay.
And crucially, writing that number down.
So getting it out of your head.
Yes, because if you don't have a crystal clear financial goal,
Yeah.
your sales efforts are likely going to lack direction and focus.
Like you're wandering around.
Yeah, it's like trying to hit a target you can't even see.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's not just about those big annual goals.
Okay.
He talks about setting specific monthly and weekly targets,
All right.
and even defining clear activity goals.
Like what kind of things?
Like the number of calls you need to make appointments, you need to set presentations, you need to deliver.
So it's a real roadmap.
Yeah, a detailed roadmap for your actions.
Okay.
But Tracy argues that the very act of writing down your goals actually has an even deeper effect.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he says it essentially programs them into your subconscious mind.
Interesting.
And once a goal is firmly lodged in your subconscious,
Yeah.
it starts working for you 24/7,
Wow.
guiding you towards its realization in ways you might not even consciously recognize.
So it's like you've got this secret partner.
It's like having this silent, incredibly resourceful partner who's always looking out for you,
I like that.
right? Always on the lookout for ways to help you succeed.
So it gives you this kind of like constant motivation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Tracy also emphasizes creating a vivid mental picture of your success.
Oh.
So like really vividly imagining yourself interacting confidently with customers,
Okay.
almost as if you were already performing at the top level.
So like visualizing it.
Exactly. And that mental practice, seeing yourself succeed in your mind's eye, can really boost your confidence and make those achievements feel more tangible.
Oh, I like that.
And he really encourages you to think big, set income goals.
Yeah.
They're significantly higher than what you've earned in the past.
Yeah.
And to have that affirmative thought of, that's for me. When you see others achieving great things.
Instead of getting discouraged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about breaking free from those self-imposed limitations and believing in your own potential for growth and achievement.
Yeah. I love that.
So now let's shift our focus a little bit to Understand your customer,
Okay.
which is something Tracy really stresses.
Yeah.
He says that professional selling always begins with a thorough needs analysis.
Okay. What does that mean?
Well, he emphasizes that you can't really be effective at selling until you've asked a lot of thoughtful questions and really listened to the responses.
Right. So it's not just about talking at them.
No, it's about understanding them.
Yeah.
It's about being a skilled listener, first and foremost.
Really listening.
Yeah. And once you have a clear understanding of those key needs and wants, you can then tailor your presentation to demonstrate how your product or service fulfills those requirements.
It's about customizing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tracy brings up a really interesting point about human motivation.
Oh, okay. What's that?
He says that the fear of potential loss
Okay.
is often a much stronger driver than the desire for potential gain.
Oh, interesting.
He says it's like 2.5 times more powerful.
Wow.
So a truly effective sales presentation will not only highlight all the positive benefits of buying,
Yeah.
but it will also clearly articulate what the prospect stands to lose by not buying.
Oh, okay. So like playing on both sides of it.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And he also talks about appealing to these fundamental human desires.
Like what?
Well, for those who are early adopters, being among the first to have a new product or service
Okay.
can be a very powerful motivator.
Right. Like that exclusivity.
Yeah. And the desire for connection, love, companionship
Yeah.
often drives a lot of social activities. So if you can position your offering as enhancing those aspects of life,
Okay.
it can create a really strong buying impulse.
Interesting.
And he also talks about how when you're dealing with retail businesses,
Okay.
their primary concern, above all else, is net profit.
The bottom line.
Exactly. They're not necessarily as interested in the details of your product
Okay.
as they are in how it will directly impact their bottom line.
So you have to speak their language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to uncover those underlying needs, Tracy stresses the importance of using open-ended questions,
Okay.
those that prompt more detailed answers,
Give me an example.
like ones that start with words, like where, when, how, who, why.
Okay.
He has this really great line. He says, telling is not selling, only questioning is selling.
I like that.
Right. It highlights that you need to be creative in how you frame information
Okay.
as a series of insightful questions that guide the prospect to their own conclusions.
So like leading them down a path.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if a prospect asks you a question, Tracy suggests this really subtle but effective technique.
Oh, what is it?
Pause briefly and then respond with a question of your own.
Oh, okay.
And this can help you regain control of the conversation and steer it back to uncovering their needs.
So you're not just reacting. You're
Right.
staying in control.
Exactly. And he also emphasizes the value of allowing moments of silence
Okay.
during the conversation
Why?
to give the customer time to reflect on what you've said.
So they can absorb it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you're presenting your idea,
Yeah.
he advises framing it as an improvement or an evolution of something familiar,
Okay.
rather than like something completely new.
So not totally radical.
Right, because this can ease any perceived risk
Oh, okay.
for those who are a little bit more hesitant to adopt new things.
So meeting them where they are.
Exactly. And he makes another interesting point about utility versus quality.
Okay. What's that?
He says that what really matters most to the customer is whether the product effectively does the job they need it to do.
Okay. So it's about function over form.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Like pure quality becomes a primary selling point, mainly when you're comparing like higher priced options against lower priced alternatives.
Right. Like when you're trying to justify the extra cost.
Exactly. And the anecdote he shares about the snowmobiles in Alaska really drives this home.
Oh, yeah. What was that again?
So it's freezing cold in Alaska, right?
Yeah.
And people rely on snowmobiles to get around.
Right.
But in those conditions, you're not worried about whether the snowmobile looks pretty.
Right.
You want to know that it's reliable,
It's going to work.
that it will start every time,
Yeah.
and that it won't break down and leave you stranded.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So reliability and functionality in those harsh conditions far outweigh a lower price.
Right. It's a matter of survival.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to first impressions,
Okay.
because Tracy dedicates a big chunk of the book to the importance of appearance and professionalism.
Okay.
And he talks about what's known as the halo effect in selling.
Oh, what's that?
So the halo effect is this psychological thing where if someone perceives one aspect of you or your offering as being really high quality,
Okay.
they tend to just assume that other aspects are also of a similar high standard.
So it's like one good thing.
Yeah.
Makes you think everything's good.
Exactly. And in selling, your personal appearance and grooming are like visible indicators of your product's quality
Oh, interesting.
and can really contribute to satisfying the customer's need for assurance and trust.
So it's not just about the product itself.
Right, it's about the whole package.
It's about you.
Exactly.
Right.
And he says that a whopping 95% of that first impression
Wow.
is based on your clothes.
So fashion matters.
It really does. You know, being well-dressed, meticulously groomed,
Mm-hmm.
consistently punctual, all of that sends a very strong message of professionalism and competence.
So it's about respecting yourself.
Yeah, and respecting the customer.
Yeah.
And Tracy points out that the most successful companies often invest in having really well-trained and well-presented salespeople. He cites examples like IBM
Okay.
and Hewlett-Packard with their really thorough interview and training processes.
They take it seriously.
They do,
Okay.
because they understand that their salespeople are the embodiment of their brand and their products.
Okay, so now let's talk about creativity in selling.
I
Because Tracy says that you need to be creative in the types of questions you ask
Yes.
to uncover what motivates a customer to buy. Because a lot of times people have a natural resistance to being sold to.
They have their guard up.
Right. So how do you get around that?
It requires a degree of like intellectual agility and insightful thinking to uncover those underlying needs and desires.
Okay.
And creativity also plays a vital role in discovering new and innovative applications for your product or service,
Oh, okay.
and effectively overcoming any objections that a buyer might have.
So thinking outside the box.
Yeah, and having that deep understanding of your product or service
Right.
is the essential foundation for all creative selling.
Okay.
He talks about strategic selling,
Okay, what's that?
which involves several key elements.
Okay.
So effective prospecting, which is identifying your ideal customers,
Okay.
clearly differentiating yourself from the competition,
Mm-hmm.
concentrating your efforts on those prospects with the highest potential,
Okay.
and communicating your value proposition in a compelling way.
So it's like having a laser focus.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that means clearly defining who your ideal customer is,
Right.
understanding and leveraging your unique competitive advantages,
Yeah.
and focusing your time and resources on those prospects who represent the best opportunities.
Okay.
And you also need to be able to clearly articulate why customers choose to buy from you
Right.
and how your offering is different and better than the competition.
So really knowing your stuff.
Exactly. And Tracy strongly recommends using written testimonial letters
Okay.
from satisfied customers.
Oh, like social proof.
Yes, and highlighting key sentences within them
To make them stand out.
to really make them pop. And he even introduces a technique called the 20 idea method
Okay, what's that?
as a way to foster creative problem solving.
Okay.
So you define your most important goal as a specific question,
Okay.
and then you brainstorm at least 20 different answers or solutions.
So you're forcing yourself to think outside the box.
Exactly. And Tracy believes this seemingly simple exercise can be really transformative
Oh, interesting.
in generating fresh perspectives and innovative approaches.
All right, so let's get into some specific effective sales techniques.
All right, let's do it.
Tracy is really big on the power of demonstrations.
Yes.
Making your product tangible and understandable.
Right. Show, don't tell.
Yeah, and he tells that great story about safety glass and a hammer.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
So what was that again?
So this salesperson would encourage prospects to try and smash a piece of safety glass with a hammer,
Okay,
and obviously they couldn't.
right.
And seeing the durability firsthand was incredibly effective
Oh, wow.
at closing deals.
So it's about making it real for people?
Yeah. And Tracy also highlights the importance of starting any sales interaction with a strong opening question
Oh.
that focuses on results or benefits for the customer.
So like what's in it for them?
Exactly.
Right.
And he even breaks down effective telephone prospecting into specific steps.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, the key elements are making sure you're speaking with the decision maker,
Okay.
clearly and concisely stating a key benefit, their hot button,
Yeah.
and then focusing solely on securing a brief in-person appointment.
Okay.
Don't try to do the whole sales pitch over the phone.
Right.
He's very clear about that.
Okay.
You want to create curiosity and highlight the value of seeing it in person.
Okay.
And when you suggest a time to meet, always offer 2 specific options.
Oh, okay.
So the goal of that initial phone call is simply to get that face-to-face meeting on the calendar.
Okay, so when you finally do meet in person,
Yeah.
what's going on in the prospect's mind?
But Tracy says that subconsciously they're looking to confirm 5 key things about you.
Oh, okay. Like what?
That you have something genuinely important to communicate that will benefit them.
Yeah.
that you are credible and trustworthy,
Right.
that you are reliable and will follow through,
Mm-hmm.
that you possess the necessary knowledge and expertise,
Oh, okay.
and ultimately that you genuinely care about their needs and best interests.
So it's about building trust.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Tracy also reinforces the effectiveness of using questions to guide the conversation
Okay.
and using social proof,
Well, wait.
like mentioning that hundreds of other companies are already using this successfully,
Okay.
can really enhance the perceived credibility of your product.
Interesting.
And when setting appointments, be pleasant, positive, and persistent.
Okay.
Always offer a clear choice of times and make sure to reconfirm the appointment beforehand.
Good tips.
And here's a simple but effective one. Smile and stand up while you're on the phone
Oh, interesting. Why?
to project more energy and sincerity into your voice.
Oh, why you like that?
And Tracy stresses the need to always maintain the initiative and not wait for the prospect to call you back.
So stay in control.
Exactly. He also reminds us about the power of those positive affirmations
Right.
before meeting with potential customers.
To get yourself in the right state of mind.
Yeah, to build your confidence and create a sense of positive expectation.
So you're setting the stage for success.
Absolutely.
What about the setting of the actual meeting?
He's actually quite firm about that.
Okay.
He says no standing up in casual settings.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he argues that if the prospect isn't comfortable enough to sit down and engage,
Okay.
they're probably not ready to make a buying decision.
It's not the right environment.
Exactly. It's about respecting the value of your product
Yeah.
by insisting on a professional sales environment.
Makes sense.
And he also recommends practicing your sales presentation out loud
Oh, okay.
in front of a mirror.
Like actors.
Exactly, to observe your delivery, ensure clarity, project confidence.
I like that.
And he reiterates the link between being well-dressed and earning a higher income.
It all ties together.
It does.
And creating that comfortable and professional environment
Yeah,
for the prospect.
absolutely.
He even mentions like a clean desk can contribute to a sense of productivity and competence.
Right. It's about those little details.
So you're not just selling a product,
You're selling yourself.
we're selling an experience.
Exactly.
And Tracy even frames the role of a salesperson as a doctor of selling.
I love that analogy.
Right.
It's about diagnosing
Yes, using logical and well-organized questioning.
to figure out what the customer needs.
Exactly. And then prescribing a solution.
Yeah, I like that.
And he talks about nonverbal communication,
Right.
highlighting that body language is